Right, so I'm Kelly, otherwise known as Domestic Goddesque, which is not necessarily something I thought of when I came up with the blog title, having to say it out loud, but I'm getting over it, so there we go. I was persuaded, probably strong-armed would be a better term, into doing some video blogging for as part of the Britmums network challenge when I met Susanna and Jen a few weeks ago, and now I'm here discussing the topic of half term. It's one of those things I don't suppose you really think about it when you have children that are not school age, but certainly in the last couple of years I found that I'm actually very aware of when half term comes around, because locally all of a sudden there are a lot more kids about, everywhere's a lot busier, the restaurants get full earlier, the shops are filled with sort of 12-year-olds who drive you bonkers because they're getting in the way, talking about what they're going to do this evening, and generally screeching and throwing their arms around each other and stuff when you're trying to get from place to place with pushchair. And travel's harder, that kind of thing. It's been a sort of weird couple of years, I guess, because you're suddenly aware that there are a lot more people around, and you start asking your friends when half terms are so that you can prepare yourself to kind of fit around it. Now that my eldest, otherwise known as Little Big Girl, is at kindergarten in a private school, I've suddenly got my first taste of what it's like to have half terms and holidays, because I've been very lucky up till now in that she's been in a nursery that operates 50 weeks a year. So half terms and holidays were never something I really sort of had to factor into my schedule, whereas now I'm suddenly looking at half term thinking, oh Lord, I ought to do something, I ought to make an effort. I'm quite lucky because her sister, the dimpled assassin, is at a nursery that operates 50 weeks a year, which means that I get to have one child for half term and not both of them. So that there are a couple of days when I just have Little Big Girl and we can go out and we can do a couple of things. So for example, I saw a promotion on the Little Bird website, and I bought tickets for the two of us to go and see Elma at the Greenwich Theatre, which I'm quite looking forward to actually. I've never taken her to anything like that before, so it will be really interesting to see how she copes with it, and whether she's interested in it. Obviously it's not something you can do when you've got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, because the 1-year-old, certainly our 1-year-old, tends to get centre stage a lot. So it'll be nice to spend some time with Little Big Girl on her own, which is great. The other thing that we have, certainly for this half term, and I've done it since actually the girls were quite small, is to replace our weekly play group that we usually go to, which isn't open on half term. We are having a pumpkin party, which probably bears no resemblance to the pumpkin parties they have in the States, in that it's a Halloween themed party around pumpkins rather than being, sort of scary costumes and stuff, because obviously if girls are very small, I didn't want to terrify them with spiders and witches and ghouls and ghosts and things. So I have a sort of fairly tame party, which involves a lot of pumpkin. One year we did a sort of craft where they had to stick faces onto cut out pumpkin shapes, and that was probably when they were 2. This year we're going to be painting little flower pots orange and putting faces on them so they look a bit like pumpkins. All the children will get to take a pumpkin seed home with them in their pot, which they can plant up when they're at home, so it's an activity that they can take away as well. But it also fills a day for me, which is useful, and it's just breaks, I think, the half term up if you have these little pockets of interesting things to do. So those are probably the two main things that we're doing this half term, in my attempt to avoid having to go into Bromley for any reason other than a very large hot chocolate, which is bound to come at some point, particularly if the weather turns. So yes, that's my thoughts on half term and what we're planning for half term, and my very first vlog for Britmums. So I hope you enjoyed it. I imagine I'll be doing some of this again, because I'm sure that Susanna or Karen or Jen or one of the other Britmums will strong arm me once again into showing my face and talking to you at the museum about the random topics that they seem to throw out there. It's been nice, I suppose, speaking to you, and I look forward to hearing your comments. Thanks. Bye.